Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook.
And just like that, the red light's rolling. Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast, and welcome to Ed Barrie. Ed, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast this week, and it's a very timely one for us. And I've been getting asked loads of questions from people around direct vision standard and what's happening for 2024, and certainly what the landscape looks like for additional safety equipment fitted to vehicles now. It makes sense. SMUK are, I believe, one of the leaders in the industry, if not the leader. I'm sure Ed will fill us in a mo. But it made sense to have Ed on the show to share that with us. Ed and I first met probably a couple of years ago when I first joined the Logistics and Safety Forum, or the Transport and Safety Forum for SILT, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and we're busy organising the 10-year anniversary conference for that as well, which we'll give a bit more information about later. Don't let me forget, Ed. But Ed, just for the benefit of the guests, I know this is, as you said just before we went live, this is your first time, mate. So tell the audience a bit about yourself, Ed. How'd you get into the industry? How'd you get into it?
Well, like everybody, I sort of fell into transport and logistics. Been in and around it for the last 30 years. I've been a driver trainer, worked for one of the main manufacturers on telematics and driver behaviour. The last few years I've been at SMUK, helping out companies sort out vehicle safe systems to meet contractual obligations, for the quarries, DVS, Fords, etc.
Oh, fantastic. Are you happy to share? Are you allowed to share which manufacturer you were with?
I was with Scania.
Oh, were you? Oh,
yeah.
Mate. You know I'm ex-Volvo, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we need to have a Volvo Scania offer is what we need to do now. Their telematics, I'll tell you what though, their tacho system is absolute garbage. Scania, I'm not knocking the company. Scania are fine, truck's great, but their tacho system's garbage. It's you're probably not allowed to say anything, but that's fine. I'm not gonna ask the question.
I'm not being drawn in.
No, you're not gonna get drawn in. No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm allowed to be opinionated, but it's my podcast. But yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone else to be. But okay, cool. So you're at Scania for a little while, doing driver training and also telematics as well. But more recently with SMUK, how long have you been with SMUK? Since prior to the first direct vision standard?
So I've been 4 years now. So just as the first DVS was coming into play, really.
Got you. Okay. And what's your role, Ed?
Business development manager. So more consultant rather than sales, if you like. Well, that's how I like to see it.
Yeah. So what sort of customers do you work with, Ed? What sort of customers are you?
Everything from single owner operators up to national fleets, so and everything in between, including specialised vehicles. Do a lot with on the construction side as well, suction excavators, that type of thing.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So my first dealings with SMUK was actually before we met, Ed. When I used to work for Volvo, I'd spec new vehicles, and for a while I covered the Barden area. So Barden Colville area has a high area. It's a high volume area for 8-wheel tippers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do aggregate industries, tarmac, and they're all on contracts where they have to have very similar camera systems to what DVS originally required. Actually, they were near side audible warnings, near side camera, reversing camera, various bits and pieces. Forward facing camera, that kind of stuff for like Fords and for working with those aggregate companies. So you'd been doing this, companies like SMUK have been doing this for a long time, haven't they, prior to the direct vision standard coming in. When was it? Was it 2021? I think the original one came in. 2022?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell us a bit about what's changing and when it's changing, if that's okay, Ed.
Yeah, so the new rules come into place October next year. So October 28th is when they actually come into play. The two main changes really are to the type of equipment that you're putting. So at the moment, you've got sensors down the near side, which currently are sort of passive in nature. And basically, when you go past street furniture, a parked car or a person, they will activate if they're within range. The new system sort of can differentiate between parked car, street furniture, and a person. So it reduces the amount of times it goes off. So at the moment, because it's always going off, some drivers may get a bit complacent about, it's another beep, it's another beep. But there's going to have to be a bit of a change in sort of their attitude towards it, because when it goes off now on the new system, it's going off because it's actually predicting there's going to be an impact. So the technology has changed so much in the last few years, and it'll change again by the time we come around to it again in 2029. So that near side scan now will have two alerts. So one when it detects a cyclist or a pedestrian coming within the zone, and it'll escalate that then to an audible alert if it actually predicts there's going to be an impact. So that's the side scan. So that's going to actually, all your current side sensors you've got on those existing vehicles are going to have to be sort of replaced. They'll become redundant, and they're going to have to put this new side radar on.
Okay.
That's for the retrofit for your existing fleet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
New vehicles coming through next year will have some of this equipment on from factory.
Got you. Okay.
So,
how does it? Can I just ask a question? How does it differentiate between, so at the moment the passive side scans are essentially like parking sensors, aren't they? Same sort of. I'm guessing they're the same sort of technology.
Yeah, basically they're going to pick anything up within range.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what's the difference with the new kit? How does that differentiate? How does that work, Ed?
It's very clever tech, cleverer than me. But basically, the software is based on artificial intelligence algorithms. That's as much as I know with regards to the technical detail. It's above me, but it's done in such a way that it rather than it just picking up everything, it's able to detect what we're actually looking for, which is vulnerable road users coming down the near side of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that without the false alerts is going to be it's much better system than previous and what we've got currently.
Yeah.
So
Good.
That's
Good
the first.
advancement.
Yeah, I mean that's the first change. The second change is the addition of a moving off system.
Okay.
Now, this is designed when vehicles are at a pedestrian crossing or a junction, and again, it's working off these artificial intelligence algorithms, and can differentiate between car in front and something else, or a pedestrian coming in front of the vehicle. Again, it'll give two alerts: one when it detects person within sort of half a metre of the front of the vehicle, and then again it'll escalate to a audible alert if they're passing in front of it. But it'll only work sort of when the vehicle's at rest or just starting to move off, and it's just for that blind spot. If someone's crossing at a pedestrian crossing, they're close to the vehicle and HGV, because their driver's so high up, that bit right at the front there is where really it's detecting. They're still going to have to jump on the brakes pretty sharpish if there is somebody there because of how close they're going to be. But I assume that, and I would imagine that by the time we come around to this in 2029, that those systems from factory will be integrated with the braking system anyway.
Got you. Got you. Okay, cool. And that's second time you mentioned 2029. Is that like a third phase at 2029 then?
Well, that's sort of the 5-year bit. That's the next cycle. They'll start looking at what new technologies coming on and coming into the market. They'll start looking at that around 2026, 2027 to see where it perhaps needs to go. But I think more and more of this is going to come from factory. So there are new mandates from the EU. So all vehicles over 3.5 tonne from July next year will have to have a moving off system and the side radar fitted at factory.
Right.
So they're already going to come with some of this kit. And I would imagine that as that tech progresses, more and more of it will come from factory.
Yeah.
And perhaps be integrated with other systems, especially, braking.
Okay, cool. And obviously with direct vision standard, this is for London-based hauliers only. And so there'll be some people who decide that they're not going to go into London anymore, for example. But I think the question I had was, I know that the tipper community have been fitting this equipment for a long time as part of the different contractual requirements. Are you seeing any of the contracts changing to include this new standard at all? Or is that coming, do you think, down the line?
I think what is going to happen initially, it's obviously for any vehicles going into London, they're going to have to meet the direct vision standard or add the progressive safe system bits on. I think for anywhere else in the country, they'll probably remain as the current side scan sensors until new vehicles start to replace that automatically.
Okay.
So I think it'll only be from contractual, especially for the tipper lads and stuff like that. If they're going into London, then they're going to have to upgrade these systems to continue to be able to go in.
Yeah, got you. Okay, and then my other question was around. So I've lost track a little bit of the star standards. So originally a vehicle would be a 0 safety star rating. What's your understanding of this new one? Is it not coming up to level 3, I think?
3,
or something like
it's 3 stars. So the star rating is based on what the driver can see from his driving position out through the near side window.
Okay.
So the further away somebody has to stand before the driver can see them, the lower the star rating. And the closer, the star rating goes up.
Okay.
So at the moment, the current requirement is a minimum 1 star rating.
Okay.
And it's going up to a minimum 3 star from October next year.
Okay.
Now, most people think that if you put all this kit on, because if you're 0 star rated and you put this kit on, it ups your star rating. It doesn't. Your star rating is given from factory and it doesn't change no matter what you add to it. So what you've really got is the direct vision standard, and then you've got the safe systems, which is what we've currently got, the side scan and the near side camera. And when we go up to 3 stars, you've got the direct vision standard 3 star minimum, or the progressive safe system, which is the addition of these new side radar and moving off system. Okay, it doesn't change your star rating, but it brings you up to the requirement to be allowed to drive into London.
Got you. And obviously, the manufacturers are starting to manufacture vehicles with higher levels of star rating, aren't they? Where the cabs are low, where you see the low level cabs, and they've got better visibility out the near side, and those kinds of things. For example, those are starting to come through, and they're not 0 star rated from factory, are they? They've got a higher star rating, for example.
Well, some are. I mean, depending on the model, there are still tractor units coming out from factory that will be 0 star rating because it's based on the height.
Yeah.
If you look at the low cab entry ones, they'll be 3, 4, 5 star rated. I know there's a couple of always tractor units coming out. I think they're going to be 3 star rated. But there's still going to be quite a number that aren't there because it's all based on the height of the vehicle, where the driver can see. So
Hello, it's Shani from Flagship Partners. We are really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. If you need expert advice or training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We are really excited to announce the launch of our Transport Manager Academy. With expert development for fleet leaders, we offer fully accredited initial Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher, and operator license awareness training, as well as mentoring, support, and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is to develop elite fleet professionals.
But if these new vehicles are coming out and they will have the new side radar and the new moving off system, they still may only be a 1 or 2 star rated vehicle. Mm-hmm. So they're still going to have to put on their near side camera and left turn warning. They're still going to have to apply for their DVS permit. Even if there's 3 stars, they're still going to have to apply for their permit.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. Okay, and then just sort of, I guess the next question is around the commercials. Now, I know the commercials can probably be quite sensitive, Ed, so I'm not going to put you on the spot. But are we able to discuss like a range depending on the type of vehicle or something like that for what an upgrade may look like? Is it, are we looking at a potentially up to £2,000 upgrade or £1,000, and with new systems, are we looking at, what's the difference comparably? Maybe if we do percentages against what they were last time, so people can start to build a picture of maybe what the investment's going to look like.
Yeah, because the technology is so much newer and more sophisticated, obviously the costs go up with that, and you're probably looking at double what you originally paid.
Right. Okay.
To upgrade it, to get it up to the minimum. So, and then whether you're retrofitting that or whether you're getting it from factory with a new vehicle from next year, you're still going to have those costs either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that my understanding was something along the lines of whatever you spent originally to get to the original DVS standard, because you already have a screen fitted and bits and pieces, there'll be some savings involved, but you might be investing another 50 or more % on top of what you'd spent originally, and then it's almost 100% more from scratch really for the additional system. So it's it's quite a commercial challenge, I think, for some operators. And I'm assuming, and I'll just out of interest really, are you seeing operators go, right, we're going to have some vehicles, rather than doing all the vehicles for direct vision, we're just going to have some?
Yeah, I mean, depending on fleet size and costs and everything else. Yeah, I've already had conversations with numerous operators on that. So they'll look at doing partial fleet. Some have got new vehicles coming in next year, so they won't upgrade the older vehicles because they're going off fleet, obviously. And where they're able, they'll only do the part of their fleet they need to go into London. Other operators only go in 3-4 times a year, and they won't bother at all. They just won't take that work on, or they'll sub it out, I imagine. I mean, it's the whole thing, and all of this, and everybody looks at it, it's London and it's a pain in the backside, but it's all there geared to reduce incidents. And the technology there, especially with the side scan, it's always going off. It becomes a pain for the drivers. So these new systems will be a much more driver friendly, if you like.
Yes.
And I think there are some conflicting bits of information out on the LinkedIn and other social media sites at the moment about what does what and whether it meets the standard. There are some really important questions that operators need to ask their installers about the kit that they're going to be fitted. Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't meet it, chances are they may get the permit, but at a later date it may get revoked because it's found not to meet the requirements. So all of the equipment that's fitted must be E-marked, in other words, type approved, Reg 10, which is the electromagnetic compatibility, so it doesn't, or it should be shown that it doesn't interfere with other systems on the vehicle. it must be able to differentiate between parked car, street furniture, and a person. It must have a 2-stage alert, and it must be able to predict there's going to be an impact. Okay, this is all the very clever things. So something like human detection camera that will pick up a person, but only picks up a person, doesn't differentiate between the two, might not be suitable for direct vision for the new systems. Operators will also need to ensure that their installers provide them with a letter stating that what's fitted and how it's been fitted meets the requirements. That has to be sort of signed off by the installer, and it becomes part of your permit application. The other thing they must ask is that the equipment has met the test procedures that Transport for London have sort of indicated. So it's very important that whoever installs this equipment for them is able to show that it meets it, because at a later date it could mean that the permits are revoked, then they're going to have this kit removed and pay again.
Wow, that's
it's going to be, if you're reading it, it's going to be a lot more controlled this time than when it first came out last time. Everybody left it till last minute. There were people sticking buttons on the side and taking photographs and calling them side scan and fitting parking sensors, and they're not quite the same thing.
Yep.
And I think this time round, because of the technology that's required, you're not going to be able to go to, another auto installer and fit a biscuit tin and call it a side radar. It's just not going to be able to happen. So
yeah, and I guess the point I want to make is that I think there'll be operators listening and transport managers listening who will see this as all very inconvenient, but at the same time to remind them that actually, we need to be committed as an industry to safety and to people's well-being. And if we're going to advance the vehicle standards in the name of stopping one person from dying by HGV, then or getting seriously injured, then that's worthwhile, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what all of this is really about. I mean, the fact that this type of equipment now is going to be coming from factory just sort of reinforces the say, look, this is the way it's going.
Yeah.
I know Transport for London sort of take the lead on the near side and the blind spots, but I can see it becoming a national standard, over the next few years, purely because once we've had all these new vehicles coming onto into operation into the network, it's going to be standard anyway.
Yeah, and the benefit is we'll start to see the statistics of killed and seriously injured drop as well, which is obviously really positive. But interestingly, if you and just a shout out, I suppose, to the Met Commercial Vehicle Unit, that I'm sure you'll be aware of, Ed. In their toolbox, they talk that actually a lot of the deaths in London are actually deliberate, and tend to be people using vehicles as suicide equipment, which obviously this kit's not necessarily. Potentially, it might help. I suppose the moving off may help, but it's obviously a really tricky thing trying to improve those road safety statistics, which is obviously going to be a big challenge. So is there anything with regards to these systems that I've not asked yet that is useful for listeners to be aware of? Is there something that I've not thought to ask you?
No, I don't think so. The one thing that I would really stress to operators that if they have fleets and vehicles going into London is get this planned in. Get it planned in this side of Christmas for installation between January and October next year, so there isn't that last minute rush. There are, a number of companies that we know already that aren't going to be developing any of this equipment because it's quite a short window, really. It's only the retrofit vehicles. So we're looking next 12, 14 months or so. So there's going to be quite a large demand on those installers that are going to be able to provide this kit. So my advice is really just start looking at what you need to do, how many vehicles you've got to do, and get them booked in. You could, pre-book them and spread them over the next 10, 12 months. But make sure that plan is in place, because I think if you leave it till sort of, I don't know, Easter or something next year, I don't think you're going to get an installer to be able to fit till Christmas, and you're outside the deadline.
Yeah. That's really, really sage advice, Ed. Ed, whilst I've got you then, are you able to tell me a bit more about, obviously SMUK are able to help operators with the DVS equipment. Tell us a bit more about the things that SMUK do, as well as fitting these cameras for DVS.
So, I mean, we're at the forefront really of all the auto electrical installation, if you think. So anything you can put on the truck post-factory with regards safe systems, we do. So for the tippers and aggregates, we put high voltage detection, inclinometers, coffee machine if you want it, TVs, additional lights, with obviously Kelso bars and things like that. So we're not really we're not going to be a bodybuilder, but we want to be sort of a one-stop shop. What happens is you get truck comes from factory and it's got to go here for that, it's got to go there for paint, it's got to go. So if we can help the dealerships sort of reduce the number of vehicle movements they've got by doing more things in one place, it's beneficial for them. The other side of that is that SMUK have sort of gone that bit further. We're whole vehicle type approved, so we can fit all of this pre-registration. So we can add our own stage 2 or stage 3 COC, which makes things much easier and a much smoother ride. So basically when the truck goes to the operator, it's work ready. They're not going to take it off the road, then get all the safe systems fitted. So it makes it a much smoother process for the dealership and the operator.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a bit of experience of that when I worked for Volvo before speccing vehicles, and we used to use SMUK, and that was one of the reasons is that we could fit everything pre-registration and everything was type approved, which made it very, really straightforward and simple on new vehicles to be able to get equipment fitted. So yeah, really, really useful. Ed, really appreciate it. So in not long after people listening to this, they're going to be there's the Chartered Institute's Transport and Safety Forum event at the Arboretum, which we're both involved in organising. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it should be a very good day.
It should be fantastic, shouldn't it? Are you exhibiting as well, Ed?
Yes, we'll be there. So I'm really just focusing on the DVS, the new system, so people can sort of understand what it is that's needed.
Brilliant. So that's a great opportunity for listeners. If you want to do want to have a chat with Ed, then obviously you can come along to the event if you're a Silk member. I think we are accepting non-Silk members as well. I think there's a slight addition there. But if you're not a Silk member, why not become a member? It's a really good thing to be a part of. It's certainly something that I get a lot of value from the membership, and I get to get involved in the Transport Safety Forum, which I find absolutely fascinating. And we're going to be exhibiting there as well. So the date on that, I think it's the 14th of November, isn't it? And it's something like an 8:30, 9 o'clock start at the British Arboretum, which is in Burton-upon-Trent, I think, off the top of my head.
Is it? I don't know. I'll have to check the address.
Hold on. Yeah, I was going to say, hold on. I better just check this, actually.
I thought it was more Stokeway.
British Arboretum. Oh, no. British Arboretum. Oh, man, people are going to be listening going, what are these guys? Yeah, Staffordshire, Croxall Road, Burton-on-Trent.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, Google it. and find the SILT event online. Certainly Ed and I have shared it on our social media. So if you connect with us and check it out, the SILT events there, we are really looking forward to it, Ed, aren't we? And it should be really good. Ed, just for the benefit of the listeners, if they want to get in touch and have a chat about the DVS system or any other safe systems, or Kelsa bars wanting fitting, anything that SMUK do, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Ed?
Through the website, really, or LinkedIn. You find me on LinkedIn, at the website, www.smuk.co.uk. That's got everything on there, plus our contact form, or any queries. But if operators have got any questions, or they need advice and guidance on what they need for direct vision and going forward, give us a call, get in contact, make sure that you're getting it right. Whether you use us or not, just make sure that you're getting this right, because it'll be an expensive do if you don't.
Yeah, no, that's sounds like sage advice, Ed. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And if you're listening, why not get in touch with Ed now? Cheers, and take care, Ed, and I'll catch you soon. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.